Welcome to our timekeeper troubleshooting session. We'll be reviewing just a little bit of information about timekeepers and the troubleshooting issues that might come up and their various forms of manifestation. All right, so let's get started. So we have a couple of articles in MindTouch regarding this. Of course, how to create a new timekeeper. We have some information in here about that. So basically you'll just go to the timekeepers page and you'll click add a timekeeper. You'll enter the email address and then you'll be required to enter some required information, assign it to a client. You can also add multiple timekeepers. So it seems pretty straightforward. We have a lot of questions about this sometimes. So I also included another MindTouch article here, and that one would be the process to complete setup for a user. That could be mainly a vendor. So let's just go ahead and get started. So our first troubleshooting issue is this could mean that the vendor has not completed setup. If the vendor needs to add a few timekeepers, then they would need to enter those after they've completed setup. Usually we do suggest that if they're completing setup and they have fewer than 10 timekeepers, that they can add those manually. If they have a lot more than 10 timekeepers, then we would suggest that they may want to use the upload feature and stop for a few moments to create the CSV file in order to do so. So here's where you would go to upload your timekeepers. You'll need to have your sample file filled out already, and then you would choose your client and then choose your file. It's pretty straightforward. However, sometimes the vendor has not yet completed setup, so they may need to go to the home page instead of the timekeepers page. So let's just take a look at some cases. Here's a case here. So our client Deutsche Bank, they asked the MetroTech team to help the customer with uploading their timekeepers. Please provide the onboarding information so we can upload our timekeepers. So once we check in Collaborati, we can see that the firm is active, and then we can help them adding additional timekeepers. So you would see the active on the vendor profile page. That's the client vendor status. Our timekeepers await client authorization. So we checked in Collaborati. There were 2 timekeepers that were authorized and 590 that were pending. So the client will need to authorize those. Collaborati support cannot authorize timekeepers, and it looks like we referred them back to the client because we copied the Deutsche Bank representative there. Let's take a look at some other cases. So let's see. The customer said, "I've added a timekeeper and still unable to select a bill to when submitting an invoice." So that means when they were logging into Collaborati, they were going to try to create their invoice, and when they get here, they don't have anything in the bill to section. It's just blank. So usually that means that either they haven't completed setup or their timekeepers are still waiting to be authorized. All right, to check your timekeeper authorizations, please follow these steps. Click on Clients, choose your client's name, choose the Timekeeper subtab. If a timekeeper appears as unauthorized with a particular client, you should contact the client to inquire why. it has been marked unauthorized, because unauthorized is what it shows when the client rejects because they have chosen not to authorize him or her. Once you've discussed this with your client, you'll need to enter a new timekeeper or resubmit the timekeeper to your client. And we have some information in MindTouch about that here. So if the timekeeper is showing as unauthorized, they should follow these steps to have it resubmitted. So first it will appear on the status page as unauthorized, and then they'll choose the click Assign Unassigned Timekeepers checkbox, and then click it again, click Assign Unassigned Timekeepers. The status should show as pending client authorization. All right. Then we had a follow-up. I'm all set. The client helped me. Thank you. All right. Let's see. So updating the timekeeper information with information such as the clerkships or the maybe editing the email address, assistance with CSV file. Sometimes the errors don't always make sense. Let's take a look at a few of those cases. So initially the question was Berman Voss timekeepers, and they sent the CSV file. We'll just take a look at it here. So there's quite a few requirements that need to match something exactly. For example, it looks like there's an extra space here, and so that would not be allowed. The AS doesn't have a space. And then these extra fields at the bottom would be all throwing errors. Oh wait, don't say. So let's just see how the case moved forward. And we sent back a revised file. Let's see if that worked any better. It looks like we corrected the PT, and we get the ones at the bottom. Yes. All right, so then we didn't get any response. All right, so I'm having trouble with an upload. It looks like all the timekeepers were activated, but I get a file error. So that's a different error. So we won't be covering that in today's session. So you can see how the CSV file sometimes causes problems. Let's look at another case here. So for this one, I've successfully managed to enter the timekeeper Furman Garballo for the client, blah, blah. Such timekeeper has already been approved and accepted by the client. However, I'm trying to enter additional timekeepers and get the following message. Let's see what the message pages. Really? Where's the... Here we go. All right, are you manually adding the timekeeper or uploading a CSV file? Do you have another browser? Let's try to get a bunch of questions out of the way first. I'm manually adding the timekeepers. Let's see, oops. I see that the timekeepers from your timekeeper file have been added except for Remedios Garcia, who happens to have the same display code as Ricardo Gomez Barrera. Please note that two timekeepers should not have the same display code. Let's see. And then we try to follow up. Yes, close it. All set. Thank you for your assistance. All right. So it looks like they had... So the timekeeper ID cannot be the same. The display code should not be the same. I have seen a few instances where it is the same, and I would just discourage that. So one other... sometimes the issue is that they just need to complete setup. So you can see the instructions here, and they would have to click on the home message on the home page in order to proceed. So here would be where they would enter their timekeepers, and then they would need to add them and click finish on the final summary page. So one other thing that we should note is that there is a very helpful timekeeper upload document. And it has a lot of the requirements for the timekeeper upload and also for the file, for just the timekeepers themselves if you create them manually. So these are the 2-letter codes that can be used for classification at this time. The email address. The phone number. So for example, the phone number cannot be the same as the fax number, and the mobile phone has to be different from the phone number too. Permitted year to practice needs to be in the YYY format. The primary expertise has to match one of these selections, and it has to match it exactly. The clerkships field is a text field and has a character limit of 40 characters. Now it is possible to have some clients that want you to enter your clerkship one way and other clients that want you to enter it another way. So that can be very confusing, and now we have the client-specific timekeeper information. We can take a look at that really quick here. So here's a timekeeper. So let's say that Robert has a clerkship for one client. And so if we just save that, then maybe for another client, he has a different profile. So maybe for this one, he's got the same timekeeper ID, but maybe this different clerkships field. All right, so as long as the timekeeper is assigned to the client, you can have that. So for one of the clients, it's showing as 71433, and then for the other one, it's showing for 172223. Unfortunately, this information is not searchable, so at this time, you would not be able to figure out which timekeeper that is that has that other information. You'd have to look at each separate page. But the upload document is quite helpful if you have any questions about those fields. For example, the country has to be a 2-letter code, the state, the language is spoken, which should be one of these selections. You can also have that separated by commas. And then the first year in current category is another YYY field. The state should be the 2-letter code for the state, and the postal zip code for text is a text field. All right, moving on. So, we have one more case here. Let's see. Please see the attached document showing that the header line as required by Collaborati. We have been unable to submit this document to add new timekeepers. Where do we get this document successfully uploaded? I'm going to close this out. It looks like an extra column has been added to the file. I have attached a revised file. So let's just take a look at that extra column here. It looks like the first year in current category is taking up 2 fields. See, these are the bad ones. All right. Did that resolve their issue? Following up. The invoices was uploaded and pending client approval. Hopefully that means their timekeepers got submitted. Because originally they had a question about the timekeeper's CSV file. All right. So yes, sometimes the errors don't make sense, and you might just have to ask for the file and review it. Maybe try testing it in Test Collaborati, and just checking to make sure that all the fields are as they should be. Comparing it with the upload document. So yes, there's quite a few issues that can occur. Moving on, we also get errors with the invalid timekeeper. Is this the right one? Yes. So usually that just means they need to check their timekeeper authorizations. Often they don't understand that you can check 2 timekeepers in 2 different places. And so just a little explanation about how you can check it from the client's timekeeper page. All right, here we go. Trying to post a bill. It is rejected due to invalid timekeeper. We have added timekeeper 1686, Jennifer, as of 9/1/15. Client is Hewlett Packard. HP says to contact you regarding making her a valid timekeeper. All right, you check your authorizations. You are able to see, click clients, choose the client, click on timekeepers. Then you'll be able to see your timekeepers authorized or pending. If the timekeeper is pending for an extended period of time, please contact your client. Now, it could also be that there are rare occasions where the timekeeper status will be showing as pending client authorization in Collaborati, and even though the CSM sync has run in Team Connect, it actually says authorized. Now, if that's the case, you would need to get some screenshots from Team Connect just to rule that out as a problem, and just make sure that the CSM sync is working. And if that's the case, then what you can do is you can ask the client to please delete the timekeeper authorization and re-authorize it on the Team Connect side. That's one issue that's more rare, but it does happen sometimes. All right, and sometimes we get questions from Team Connect clients regarding 0 timekeepers have been added. So we do actually have some information in MindTouch about the timekeeper ID issue. And that's here. Check your timekeeper authorizations. All right, so we have another case here, and this one is from Behringer. Can you tell me which timekeeper has been removed from Cowdery and Murphy? Okay, so in this case, we'll just send them the list of authorized timekeepers for that vendor. It looks like James Healy and John D'Ambrosio have been removed because it looks like she sent us a screenshot of her page. Let's see. Yes, those are the authorized ones. And then we just used the export feature in order to send this. Yes, so it's easy now to download that file. So you would just go to the client's page, and then you click on your client's name, and then you click on the timekeepers and enter the vendor's name, and then you can just download the authorized list, provided that you have all the entries listed there using the export button. All right. So that concludes our timekeeper troubleshooting session, and have a nice day.